Hello there, world. It is I, the one, the only, the Glitch Division. I'm here, finally getting around to recording this video that I promised on Twitter yesterday. I just wanted to really elaborate a bit on my tweet storm from the other day, where I mentioned that I don't like the terms ableism or ableist or whatever. It's not that they don't have a place, because they do. There are things or people out there that are truly those. But a lot of these hateful comments and things that could be considered ableism, for example, are coming from a place of ignorance. They come from a place of people not knowing, not understanding, because they're not there. They're not in that position, so they don't understand the true nature of that position. Empathy can go a long way to help someone understand it, but it's not everything, if that makes any kind of sense at all. Like, it doesn't matter if I try to tell someone how it feels to play a game while half blind, and even if they put on a blindfold, for example, they still won't understand how I particularly feel and how I manage things, because my situation is unique, just like yours might be if you're a fellow disabled gamer, creator, individual out there in the world. There's not any true way to give someone the 100% experience that you go through on a daily basis. So because of that, they might make comments that come off to you as insensitive or hateful, but they really don't hate you. They're really not insensitive. They just don't know. They're not experienced in the same ways that you are. So rather than throw that term around and be hurtful to them in the same way that their comments may have been hurtful to you, talk to them. Explain that their comment was hurtful, that kind of clarify why. A lot of times you'll get apologies and "I'm sorry, I didn't knows." But if you be hateful and just fling around the term ableism and ableist and hateful comments like that, then you're likely to get that same hate back in return, and that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help us progress towards a more inclusive world overall. Now, as I said earlier at the beginning, there may very well be people or things out there that really are truly ableist, and there's no way around it. Those things should be called out. Those things should be changed and worked on. But in a meaningful manner. In a manner that makes it good for everyone. I'm going to use video games as an example here because it's a space I very well know. And I'm going to use one specific game in particular. Elite Dangerous. Right? In Elite Dangerous, there is a system that you must use whenever you go to a spaceport or a starport, because it is a space simulation game. When you go to one of these space stations or starports, you have to manually dock. Before one of the Horizons updates not long ago, about a year ago actually, a year or two ago, I forget exactly when it was, but before this, whenever you first started your game and you got your little bitty starter ship and all that good stuff, you had to manually dock. There was no way around it. If you could not manually dock, once you launched from the pad, you were pretty much stuck in space. Whether that be because of manual dexterity issues, you can't do those fine motor controls required to dock successfully, or maybe it's blindness like I have. You can't see where you're supposed to go or find your spot to land at. But for whatever reason, you cannot dock. For that, you are stuck in space, effectively. There is a docking computer within the game that automatically guides you to the pad and sets you down and all that good stuff. essentially removing the manual part of docking, but it does take longer than people could do manually if they knew how or were able to do so. It does take a little bit longer. Well, I proposed on the forums a couple of different times, and the final time I proposed it, I guess, is when they finally decided to listen. But I proposed the docking computer as an accessibility feature rather than as just a convenience. And I did get some pushback. But as I explained why and how it's an accessibility feature, I had other people come to the defense, and they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. We want to see more people playing the game, and if giving them the docking computer is going to help that, then do it. It's not hurting us in any way because we can still choose not to use it. And I even stated that I am perfectly fine sacrificing a few slots, because in order to use the docking computer, you have to put it in a slot within the internal components of your ship, which all the ships can have a certain number of these slots, and like the ideal meta builds for certain things don't use the docking computers or any sort of assist computers in any way, because all of it's spent with more useful things. I don't really care about that. And a lot of other people with disabilities wouldn't really care about that either. So I'm like, I am perfectly fine making that sacrifice. I just would like to start the game with one. I would like to have new players start the game with one. And I expressed it as an accessibility feature as well as a convenience feature for new players that maybe just can't understand the concepts behind how to dock manually. No matter what you do, no matter how you try to teach them, they can't get it initially, which might be linked to a learning disability. But either way, they're a new player, and they can't figure out where to go or how to dock properly. Well, Frontier listened. Frontier is the developers behind Elite. They listened. They added the docking computer as well as a new Super Cruise Assist feature, which I didn't even ask for, and I didn't even know how useful it was going to be for some people until I actually got my hands on it. But they added those to the game. And on top of this, they also gave all small ships an extra 2 Class 1 slots, or at least 1 extra Class 1 slot. I forget exactly what it was, but they gave all the small ships an extra slot to hold those devices, which they did not have to do, and I thought was absolutely awesome of them. But either way, I came to the table in hopes to reach a middle ground with those quote unquote ableist or hateful gamers out there, which they weren't, come to find out, as I mentioned earlier, to come to that middle ground with them to get them to understand why this is a good thing and why this is an accessibility feature as well as quality of life. And it worked. Frontier made the change. And now, if you were to pick up Elite Dangerous, which Odyssey's about to come out, which I will be making some videos on, giving my thoughts, but that's beside the point for another day. Maybe stream it a day or two. Who knows? We'll see. But if you pick up that game now and you're a new player starting fresh, you will have a docking computer and can learn how to manually dock at your own pace, by sitting back and watching how the docking computer does it, or by going through the old training tutorials and learning it. Either way, you have options. You can now get out there, explore the stars, jump from system to system, and make that space money, landing wherever you need to in order to do so, without having to worry about your disability stopping you. So, again, I reiterate, not everything that may seem to be ableist or hateful to us as disabled people necessarily is. A lot of it just comes from, oh, I didn't think of that moments, which, yes, is inherently a negative bias in our society related to people with disabilities, which we need to change, we need to work on. But it's not necessarily a mean-spirited, hateful, or ableist bias. So I implore you, if you check this video out, don't instantly rush to throw that term out there. I know it's exhausting. I understand. I have been blind since birth. And having to deal with the exhaustion of jumping through loopholes that nobody else has to jump through, or dealing with people asking the age-old question that everybody always asks a blind person, how many fingers am I holding up? I've lived it. I've dealt with it. I've been exhausted by it. I understand it. But I also understand that not everything that is done or said is hateful, ableist, or even remotely mean-spirited. A lot of it is just people didn't know. They don't understand, or they didn't think about it. So educate and uplift instead of name call and punch down, please. It really hurts me to see conversations and everybody jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, this one thing is ableist, or ableist societies, or whatever. Yes, we have biases against us in our society, but we can change that. Calling it a name doesn't change anything. At best, everyone else will just ignore it, ignore the name calling, and will never get anything done. At worst, it'll basically summon more vitriol and hatred from those who don't understand. And we don't want that, because the more of that we see, the harder it's going to be to actually make the needed change that we're pushing to make. We've been on a good path these past couple of years. Things are changing for the better. I see that. I love that. Let's just not throw a monkey wrench in it by calling the world ableist. That's all I really wanted to say, and if you stuck through all of this and agree with me, heck, even if you don't agree with me, let's talk. I'm always on Twitter. I'm even in Discord. I'll link my Discord in the description of this video if you guys want to come in and talk about this. And by extension, this goes to other isms and ist statements as well. But we'll talk about it. I'm really open to the discussion. I love good debate, good adult debate, without name calling, without hatred or anything like that, you know? And just as another little side note tangent, it's okay to disagree with someone and still respect them. Okay? So yeah, I'm gonna be cool, even if our views don't align, and even if I never see your point of view, I'm still gonna be cool, and I'm gonna respect you because you came and we talked as adult human beings. You know? Heck, I even have many friends that I don't 100% agree with on a lot of things. We agree to disagree, make jokes back and forth about it, and don't get bent out of shape because we understand where each other are coming from. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the flip side, probably during my next stream. Who knows? This has been the one and only Lich Vision. Just giving my piece, throwing my 2 cents into the mix. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you later.